this is the best high school game around. Other people say there's different games, but if you live in this area down here in South Jersey, nothing's bigger than Ocean City, Mainland.
Tonight's Chuck Smith Show, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service, is also brought to you by our loyal sponsors. Charlie's Bar and Restaurant, located at 800 Shore Road in Summers Point. Meet your friends at Charlie's at the shore since '44. Chico and Son Sub Shop, located at 1620 Tilton Road, Northfield. Choose the #1 sub shop in South Jersey. And the Docks Place, located at 646 Bay Avenue in Summers Point. Book your dinner reservations now at 609-926-0404. Thank you for your support of Mainland Regional Football.
When you have a solid program, a lot of that can take over what an individual might do. Before he releases the ball, he takes a shot right as he releases it here. And for him to stand in there in the face of that, and that's just the confidence that he has. And I found myself just trying to catch my breath for a bit because of the excitement and just the pressure of that moment. This is a game that the kids, you live for.
This is the Chuck Smith Show on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. Now, here's Coach Smith and your host, Nick Kosko.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Chuck Smith Show right here on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. I'm your host, Nick Kosko, and with me, as he is every week, is Mainland head coach Chuck Smith. Coach, tough one on Friday, though, 17-7 loss to St. Augustine Prep, but you guys, as usual, after a loss, turning the page right to the next week, throwing that one in the trash after looking at it. Ocean City this week, so we'll dive into the big rivalry game with the Red Raiders on the road on Friday, but we'll start with St. Augustine Prep, a hard-fought game. Defense played really well. Just a couple things didn't go your guys' way in the end. It was again, just back and forth. It's like, oh my God, one thing can happen here, another thing can happen here, but ultimately fell a little bit short. So, what were your biggest takeaways from this one as you guys just missed out on another big W?
Yeah, Nick. It's kind of like a tale of the early part of this season, missing out on a big one again. It was a great high school football game. If you're a fan of high school football, that was a great game to go and watch. I can't tell you how many people have said something to me about just the way the kids battled for both teams. For us, I thought our team did a great job battling the team that obviously we were a decided underdog against these guys. But the kids hung there tough. I think, at halftime they realized they had a chance that they could win this game. And I think you saw us play with a different level in the second half, really. I'm proud of our kids. We just made a couple of mistakes at key moments that, when you're playing a team like the St. Augustine Prep, you can't make those mistakes in those moments, it cost you the game. And that's unfortunately what was our downfall last week.
Mm-hmm. You guys forced 2 turnovers in that first half, missed field goal, but then it led to basically what separated the Prep, at least when they were on offense. They pretty much capitalized on big plays from themselves. Ty McClure had to hit a big run down the sideline and put them up 7-0 at halftime. But as you mentioned, you guys battled back. What exactly changed at halftime where your defense was playing pretty well, but aside from one play, it's like that was pretty much a scoreless first half, and then you guys finally got it going a little bit later in that second half?
Yeah, I thought our defense played a solid game. They had the one drive after the missed field goal that they went down, had the big run, and all. But I think, we were moving the ball on them too. We just weren't getting it into the end zone. We kept stalling out down deep. I thought their punter did a tremendous job the other night. I mean, that kid, he's not – I knew about him kicking off. I didn't realize, watching film because I didn't really punt that much of how good he was of a punter because he really pinned us down deep. I think our first 3 possessions, he was pinning us down there. But, I think at halftime – the kids really got hungry. They knew we're at home. They knew there was an opportunity there to do something special, and they really played their hearts out, in the second half. And it was just unfortunately, it didn't end up the way we wanted it to. But we had a chance. We had a chance again.
Yeah.
And that's all you ask for is the kids to battle, play as hard as they can, and the chips will fall where they fall. But we had a chance all the way to the very end of possibly tying the game, if not winning the game.
Yeah, the kicker and punter you mentioned, Luke Tanzola for the Hermits. Yeah, he was fantastic, just kicking the ball, especially on those punts. He pinned you guys down at the 3-yard line on that would-be potential game tying or game winning drive for you guys in the fourth quarter. So you guys trailed 10-7. You had to go basically 97 yards down the field if you want to take the lead, or at least maybe about 70 plus yards to set up Nate Cashy for a field goal. But you guys got down to the 30-yard line after a big catch and then a penalty and set you up. But unfortunately, the fumble was right there, which was returned for a touchdown right there. We'll get into the highlights in a second, but what was it seemed like it was the theme of pretty much the entire game where once you guys found your rhythm on offense against a very talented Prep defense, you guys were just moving in chunks. It was like, all right, quick pass right here might go for 5 to 7 yards or a 15-yard catch. But it seemed like the running game too was starting to really open up that Prep defense where you guys could methodically move down the field as well.
Yeah. I thought the offense was doing a great job. I thought John Franchini did a nice job of not only running the ball, making good decisions on his passing, even some of the passes where he was like pressured and had to scramble out of the pocket and then just finding an open receiver. I felt really good on that last drive that the fumble occurred on, that we were moving down the field and going to be in a position really to win the football game. I mean, that was my mindset as we had that ball right there. I give the kids credit too, because as devastating as that turnover was, to flip it and then there's hardly any time left. When we got the ball back again, we drove right down the field again. Yeah. So the kids didn't quit, and that's all I ask, man, is just don't quit. Play your heart out. Sometimes you're going to lose, and like I said to the kids, against the Prep, we might lose 9 out of 10 times playing them, but there's always that one time. Mm-hmm. I think they believed that they could do it. And it's just unfortunate that it just didn't work out for us, and it worked out in favor of them.
Yeah, I think I actually noted it on the broadcast on Friday as well, where you guys just went immediately down there's probably about 90 seconds left in the game. You guys were back close to the red zone again on that final drive, even though you were down by 2 scores, and obviously it didn't work out, but that really showed the fire in the kids was there until the clock hit all zeros. So we'll dive into a couple highlights from the game. We'll start out with a first quarter turnover. I mentioned the 2 turnovers forced out, and then here was Lucas DiBiase with his interception.
Yeah, it was a big turnover there. I mean, interception by Lucas. He read the play well, made a great explosion onto the football, especially with them down deep in our end, to possibly score a touchdown, And the thing about the Prep is they go up on you. They could chew 8 minutes off the clock, on offense, So they're not a team you want to be behind because they're so hard to get back in front of. But it was a great play by Lucas, and he's steadily, as the season, he missed the entire summer. Mm-hmm. And really, this is what, game 5 of what he's played. He missed all preseason and everything. And each week he's gotten a little bit better. Even the week before against Cherokee, he had a tremendous game. And that's a player we had hoped him to be, this year, and he's coming around to be that guy.
Yeah, you mentioned also the Prep being able to chew up a lot of clock. They did so in the third quarter. They was about an 8-minute drive, I think, to start out that third quarter, where it might have been 2 or 3 combined possessions between the two of you guys till the very end in that second half. So next highlight I have right here, the other turnover after a botched punt for you guys. They immediately forced the fumble, get the ball right back.
Yeah, that was a great hustle play. Liam Kennedy comes up, to force the ball, but TJ McBall pops the ball out. Was pursuit from nose guard. And this was a huge play. Like you said, we had just turned over the ball, and, they had the momentum and all, and it was just nice to get the ball right back.
So we'll go into the next one right here we have for the people at home, and this was in the fourth quarter. Read option play right here, just a keeper by Franchini. And you mentioned, Johnny's just been really good with his legs this season, where it's really opened up your offense.
Yeah, it was something we wanted to add to the offense this year. It was a quarterback run element to it. We really hadn't done it the previous 3 years with John. And it's worked out well for us this year to open up some other things along the way. And he did a great job there with the read, and the blocking was there, and, put us right back in the game, 10-7 with plenty of time left.
And then the final play, which was the eventual decider in this one, was this fumble. You guys are at the 30-yard line driving potentially to win this game, but unfortunately a fumble right here, which led to the fumble recovery for the touchdown. What happened right? It was just a drop.
Yeah, just a mishandled snap, and unfortunately, we got beat inside on the line also, and the kid made a great play to kind of prevent Johnny from recovering the ball. And then their backer from the outside just comes up and scoops and scores it, and really sealed the game for them on that play, unfortunately for us.
So overall, what was the message? I mean, I know you guys pretty much not say the same thing to these guys every single week. And you mentioned before how you love how your players did not quit. You're looking forward to a big game against Ocean State, which we'll dive into in a second right here on Friday. But did the players say something amongst themselves where it's like, we know we battled, we came up short, and sometimes that's going to happen, but there's still an opportunity in front of them?
I think, with this group, and these guys have been around a long time, but now they're the guys. They're not riding behind other guys that have been there for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And some of these guys played like a auxiliary role in the past, but now they're thrust into the limelight. I think really what we came away with from the prep game was we're not that far away from being pretty good. We stood toe to toe with one of the better teams in South Jersey and had a chance to win. I think it was as bad as the loss was in one regard. On the other hand, I think it was a confidence boost for us in our playing ability. As everybody knows, we play in probably one of the toughest divisions, if not the toughest division in the state of New Jersey. And, we're in the meat grinder of that right now. And, we played a pretty good game last week. We just came out on the short end of the stick, but I think it's a confidence boost as we hit the downside of the schedule in the regular season as we get ready to hopefully prepare for a great playoff run.
Now you mentioned the toughness of that schedule. It might not even change next year. It seems like you guys are going to be within the top 2 or top 3 divisions in the West Jersey Football League in 2026 and 27. So Ocean City on Friday at their place, 3:00 game, weird kickoff time, but still on Friday afternoon, we'll say. But again, going to Ocean City. This is a rivalry game. We all know it. Mainland Ocean City dates back quite a long time. We've seen a lot of great games between these two schools, a lot of big regular season matchups, a lot of big playoff matchups. So we'll start out with the current team right now in 2025. What really stands out about this Ocean City team? They come in 3-2, coming off a win over Hamilton just last week. What have you noticed so far from the Red Raiders in 2025?
They're a tough, well-coached football team. Coach Matthews taking over for Kevin Smith. He's done a great job in the past with their defense. Plays with a lot of energy. Kids play with the energy. He exudes energy on the sidelines. I've watched him for a number of years, having battled against him. But even when I go to scout or whatever, I pay a lot of attention to all the other things going on in the game, not necessarily all the stuff on the field, just to see interactions and how people react on things and all that stuff. I'm really impressed with Coach Matthews. He's got a great staff, brought in back a couple of veteran coaches on the offensive side, Coach Callahan, who was there before when they had Rapetti at quarterback. They're big up front. Their guards move well. Athletic at quarterback, even though the quarterback got dinged up a couple weeks ago against Atlantic City, and then they bring in the other kid, the tall kid that's fast. They're tough. And like I told our kids, we will get the best version of Ocean City this week. And don't go by what they did with Hamilton or maybe some of these other teams or whatever. When it's Mainland Ocean City, both squads rise a whole different level that you just don't anticipate sometimes. And we have to be ready for that version of Ocean City. And it'll be a battle like it always is. That's what we're anticipating. Even the years that we've been really good or they've been good, one team is kind of always right there with them.
Yeah, even last year, I think it was 14-7 was the final, I believe, at your place last year. And then, you're talking about a 2024 squad for you guys that made the state championship game for the second straight year, and yet still a close battle with Ocean City where –
a couple years ago when we won it, and I think they only won 3 games, they beat us by a point over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can't go by, what you have on the field. You got to be ready to play.
Yeah. So Jackson Becker was the quarterback you're talking about, 6 total touchdowns, dual threat quarterback. As long as he's healthy, probably one of the more dangerous guys within this area, of course, when it comes to high school football. Tristan Schmidt, good running back for them as well on the ground. So starting with their offense with Becker and Schmidt, if that's end up what you end up facing on Friday afternoon, I would imagine their run game is something that maybe not worries you, but it's like we really need to key in on that because those guys, if they're both clicking right now, it's like you have to worry about 2 different guys coming out of that backfield.
Yeah, it's kind of like I think it's the first team really we faced where the quarterback really is a concern to run the football. We face a couple teams that the quarterback scrambles on passing plays.
Yeah,
this kid can do that too, but he's really part of the run game. They run a lot of stuff, misdirection with him, replays with him. So forth. They're back to their no huddle offense that they ran years ago. And they do a few things, but they window dress it very well. So they looks like they're running different plays, but it's really the same type of scheme that they have, and they're consistent with it. And they're similar to a prep and all that, and where if they get the ball at Delsey, they can chew time off the clock too. They don't put up big numbers offensively, but they do chew a lot of time up and have the possession going their way offensively. And I just think we really got to be concerned with their running back. And of course, their quarterback. Got to contain them.
Looking at Ocean City's defense, their leading tacklers, Aiden Majors and Jake Chapman, at least according to their stat sheets, they've combined for just about 100 tackles this season, just between the two of those guys. And again, we're only halfway through the season. So when you look at their defense, and obviously looking at Coach Matthews, who's now in the head coaching role after being, I think he was there for a decade as their coordinator, what challenges do their defense present for your offense going in on Friday?
Yeah, they've moved to the ball very well. They play their positions well. They're big inside. They got big defensive front with their defensive tackles, and they do a nice job rotating those kids in there. And they fly to the football. That's the way Coach Matthews coaches those guys. High energy and pursuit to the football, and that's what they have. And we have to be on point with our blocking assignments and all that stuff that we do, to be successful on Friday.
So as far as playoff positioning is concerned, of course, the gridiron updates, the standings every week now at this point. There's projections out there. You guys still have, I believe now, four games left. If my simple math is correct here, but you got to worry about it now. Not worry about it now, but people look at it right now, and as it stands right now in South Jersey Group 3. Ocean City's number 12. You guys are 13, so both within that top 16 for the playoffs. But this is huge, as we talked just before the show, that, if you have a head-to-head win, that automatically vaults you over that team if you guys are neck and neck in the standings. So not only do you have a rivalry game right here, this is for playoff positioning where you guys could end up being in the same sectional bracket in about 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, it's huge for the playoffs. And Ocean City's got a couple of wins, and they're going to win some more games, I know. Where we are right now, we got to get things rolling the next few weeks if we really want to make a serious dent in the playoffs this year. And this game, it starts right now. Like I told the kids, those things are behind us now. The first 5 games of the season, we've learned from it, hopefully. And we got to get it rolling now. We got to get rolling. It starts this Friday with Ocean City. And, I always say, this is the best high school game around. Other people say there's different games, but if you live in this area down here in South Jersey, nothing's bigger than Ocean City Mainland. And I know, for them, I know it would really push them up, beating us. And for us, it just gets us going in the right direction, really.
Yeah, you mentioned that rivalry just means more. You're going to their place, as we alluded to already. I know you guys love playing at the Corral at Jack Thomas Memorial Field, but what's it like when you play this team at their place? I know that I believe the Ferris wheel actually is still up. I know they're still closing down the Wonderland Pier on the boardwalk, but it's still one of the nicer looking venues in South Jersey. Of course, Battle the Beach, and we've seen schools like IMG, make the flight all the way up into Ocean City, New Jersey for those showcase games to start the season. So when you go to their place and you're playing a game of this magnitude, especially where it's, I know you guys weren't traditionally Thanksgiving Day rivals, or you're not opening up the season. So this is October football, where it means a lot now for the rest of the regular season. It just seems like it's all coming together for quite the atmosphere and just quite the one of the more meaningful games you'll see this season in South Jersey coming up this week.
Yeah, it's a neat when you go to Ocean City and you're coming across the bridge. There's not many places that you're crossing a bridge to go play a football game.
Yeah.
Going to an island, and you got the fanfare of the amusement rides in the background, and the boardwalk and the ocean and the breeze and the smells from the boardwalk and stuff like that. It's just really a cool venue to play a football game, let alone against your arch rival.
Yeah.
It's just a really cool atmosphere. If this game was on Friday night, it would be mayhem over there. I don't know what kind of crowd we're going to wind up having, just because all the kids, they have sports and practices and games and stuff like that, being a 3:00 game. I'm sure there's still going to be a lot of people there.
Yeah.
But it's always an event, not just like any other game. It's an event when Mainland plays Ocean City at either place, to come there. But it really is a cool venue with the school in the backdrop, and then you look down the other end of the field and you got the boardwalk and people walking around the ocean in the distance. It's a neat place, you know. And the only thing that always gets me going is when we're fortunate enough to win this game and we come back home, the bridge is never lit up in green when we win. You know, they keep it the other. But if we lose, that bridge you're damn sure that thing's going to be red, you know. Because the guy on the Ocean City side controls the lights. And as long as we've been, we've won a few of these bridge trophy games, and the kids go down there and the bridge is never lit up in green for some reason, but that's our deal. They're supposed to do it for a week or that weekend. And never green when we win, but it's always red when they win.
I would say for Mainland's sake, you hope it's not red when you drive home on Friday evening, but we'll see. If you guys get the win, we'll see if we can make it happen that it's lit up green. You already alluded to him before, and your mutual, the mutual admiration between you and Coach Matthews. For those who don't know, obviously he took over, as you mentioned before, for Kevin Smith this year. His first year as the head coach over there, but he's been there a long time, so he is Ocean City football from that staff. Thick and thin. He represents Ocean City really well. What's your relationship like with Coach Matthews?
I just know him from the coaching standpoint, really. I had a more of a relationship with Kevin because Kevin and I went to high school together at Mainland, played football together. And, we would always talk in the off season or during the season, try to help each other out. Yeah. It was one of those things, like, I think as much as we are rivals, once you get through that game, I think we kind of root for each other, and I see that across the board, like, the success we've had over the past few years. Kevin was one of the first people to text us after we won the state championship. John Bruno, the basketball coach, one of the first people to reach out to me also every time we win a sectional championship. Yeah. Just, class acts over there, and I think sometimes people get so caught up in the rivalry part and think you have to hate each other to wit's end, but there's a mutual respect also that's out there. And that's the sportsmanship part that makes it such a great thing, high school sports. And when you have those things going on, that week you might not be fond of each other. Yeah. But after the game, it's all said and done, and you go on. You have those great relationships that last you for life. But I think Coach Matthews has a long career ahead of him. I really do. I think he's going to do tremendous things at Ocean City. I just hope he doesn't do it this Friday. And he just he has that energy, that youth, and I know he does a great job in the weight room also. I mean, when you have an arch rival that's not far away from you, you pay a lot of attention to what's going on. You listen to what you're hearing all the time because you want to make sure, it's not going to go the other way on you sometimes, but we're just hoping, we can pull this one out on Friday.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And haven't talked to him before. He seemed like he's like, as you mentioned, brings that all that passion and intensity, off the field, on the field. I'm sure it's going to be a nice clash between you two guys and your squads on Friday. So I'll leave you here with this. I know we've discussed this before, since we've done this show for the last couple of years. Whenever this game comes around, we always discuss, what's really stood out about this rivalry in the past. I know, we could talk, for hours about this coming game planning for Friday afternoon, but is there something else that's really stuck out? Maybe a historical memory, or maybe something that's happened within the last couple of years, or even 20 years ago that you maybe have gotten across the kids to this week, where it's like, hey, we were in a similar situation in insert year when we played Ocean City, and this happened. Is there anything like that you talked to?
I think the biggest thing that stands out with me with this rivalry is you can throw the records out the window. The kids just play at a different level emotionally in this contest. I look back to the 95, we were decided underdog in both the contests, and we won the game. Yeah. I look back to 1999, we were undefeated. They were 7-4 in the South Jersey sectional championship game at Rutgers. We were the huge favorite in that game. Yeah. They pulled the big upset that game. You look at it just a couple of years ago in 22, we won the sectional title. I think they won 3 games that season. Yeah. One of their wins was against Mainland. They beat us by a point at their place, So I think you can throw the records out the window. The kids they come to play in this game, man. And that's why I try to tell my team this whole week, you are going to get the best version of Ocean City this week. I don't care what their record is. To me, they're 5-0. And that's what you're going to be playing against, is a 5-0 confident team coming in there, and we got to be ready for it, because the emotional roller coasters in this game are unbelievable. The highs and the lows that occur with it. And like even last year, like, look at them last year. It was a 14-0, very tough football game. It wasn't a runaway for us, at all. And even the year before, we went undefeated. We played them at our place. They were going in for the first score of the game.
Yeah.
And someone punched the ball out, and Cohen Cook recovered it in the end zone, and then it kind of went our way the rest of the way that game. So it's always one of those things back and forth.
Yeah.
You look at it like back in 18 or 19, whenever it was, we beat them up physically in the last game of the regular season. We had to play them the following week in the first round of the playoff.
Yep.
And they upset us.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody thought they were going to stay on the field with us the following week because of how physically dominant we were the week before. And the following week, they found a way to win the game, and they beat us in a very close game. So I think that's one of the things with this rivalry, and what makes it such a great rivalry. It doesn't matter the records. You could throw those out. The kids come to play in this contest.
Yeah, it really is fascinating. And of course, if a couple things break their way, even just last year, I know you guys ended up beating Somerville in the state semis last year, but that's who Ocean City lost to in the sectional semis just last year. And it doesn't, on paper, doesn't look like it, but a couple things go their way. Maybe they end up making a run for themselves, and then it's Mainland Ocean City in a state semifinal just last year. So, as you said, throughout the record books, it's going to be a good one. Friday at 3 p.m. at Ocean City, Mainland taking on the Red Raiders for the annual clash. Trying to get that bridge trophy, and for you guys, Coach, hopefully the bridge is either not lit up or it actually is lit up green on the way home. Otherwise, I'm sure I'm sure you guys don't want to see red even after the game either.
No, we don't. Not at all.
Chuck Smith Show right here on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. Again, Mainland at Ocean City on Friday, 3 p.m. here in week number 6. I believe it's week 6. Maybe it's week 7 at this point. So, but we press on here in the 2025 high school football season. Thanks, Coach. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.